Hi guys, I'm Laura. Welcome back to my channel where I talk all things entrepreneurship, travel, modeling, etc. So thank you for being here. Thanks for coming back for another video. If you like my channel and you like what you see, please like and subscribe and follow me over on Instagram here. And then my handbag brand is here. I designed all of my handbags and they're made in Milan, Italy, and that has been my passion project for over 2 years now. So I'm based in Denver, Colorado, but I design them and then they're made in Italy and then I ship them from Denver. So everything you order is hand-packed from me, and that is my small business. Okay, so the topic for this video, which I'm super excited to talk about, is my experience as an international model. I lived in Mexico City in 2016 as a model. So I lived in a model apartment. I was there for just over 2 months. I went to castings, I booked jobs in Mexico City, Veracruz, Monterey, and I walked in the Liverpool runway show with Emily Donato and Hannah Jeter, and we also had Omi, the guy that sings cheerleader. He was on the runway and we were like walking around him, and I'm obsessed with Emily Donato, so to see her in person was incredible. It was a big part of my development as a model, but also as a person, and really opened my eyes to the world and to travel and solo female travel and the modeling industry, and just like totally got me out of my comfort zone in a super intense way, and then made me grow and grow up and learn more about different cultures, and it just like totally threw me into this whole new universe that I really had no exposure to. And so I'm really excited to talk about it. I get a lot of questions about it. When I was in Mexico City, it wasn't super well known, at least to me and the people around me, that it was a very, strong development market for models. And I know IMG was sending their girls there, and there were a ton of models in Mexico City when I arrived, but it was never on my radar to model there and spend time there. I was scouted by a modeling agent when I was 13 going on 14, and then I started modeling at like 14, 15. When I was like 15, I got really serious about it and really into it. I was a sophomore in high school. I was in high school and I was just obsessed. It was all I wanted to do, was be a model, and I had an agency here in Denver. Wilhelmina, Denver is where I'm signed. My goal with modeling was I wanted to be in the major markets. I wanted to be in New York and LA and London and Milan, and I wanted to do the whole thing. Once I started approaching my senior year in high school, I made it very clear that I really wanted to go for modeling, and I really wanted to try it and like give everything I had to it and not have regrets. My agency had an amazing photographer come in and I did a shoot with him. This was October of 2015. Once I got my photos back, my agent started sending them out to different agents that would have me on for placement or were interested in having me for placement. The first market that I received interest from was in Istanbul, Turkey. And I almost went, but there was just like some political unrest going on there at the time, and my family didn't feel totally comfortable with me going. And so we quickly pivoted, and my agent here got in touch with an amazing agency in Mexico City. And this was probably November or December of 2015, which was the fall semester of my senior year. So I graduated high school a semester early, which was, honestly, I was not sad about that. Honestly, I was really happy to graduate high school early and kind of get out of there. And so I graduated high school in December, where everyone else was finishing in May. I only had one class left that I had to take because I was doing APs and stuff like that. So my mom helped me get enrolled. We just were like looking online at how we could get that credit done, and I took a class online through BYU. It was honestly just a really easy English class, and so I took that class self-paced online when I was in Mexico, and that was how I did it. So I graduated in December, and then in January I left for Mexico City, and it was insane because I had never really left home before. Like I said, I'm from Denver, and I just didn't really have that exposure. I've been to Mexico, the resorts with my family, but it wasn't living in Mexico City. So I was 17 at the time. I turned 18 in Mexico, but I was an unaccompanied minor, and my parents, looking back on it, they were so courageous to let me go because we literally had no idea what to expect. But I was really into modeling at the time, and everyone that I knew in that circle was doing this. They were going to South Korea, Japan, London, Australia, like they were going everywhere. So this was the step I had to take if I wanted to be successful in the industry. I'd been to Mexico before, so I wasn't like totally freaked out. But I think that was good because I didn't realize how much of a humongous shock to my system this was going to be. So I didn't have the anxiety on the way down there, but then when I got there it like hit me. So we landed at the Mexico City airport and a driver from the agency like took us to our house, and I had the address to the house but like had never seen photos or anything like that, and I was so young. I think it was good in hindsight to just be thrown into it and not really know what to expect. But we got to the house and there was a maid that like worked at our house, and so she came out and said hi to us and brought our bags inside, and it was a full-blown model apartment, not like what you see on America's Next Top Model at all. Anyways, so we get to the model apartment and she shows us our room, like literally just takes us in, and this was our room. And it was this really small room with 2 bunk beds in it, like tiny, no windows, first floor. And she shut the door and I felt like suffocated. I was like, what am I doing here? And then she just like left. And then one of the other girls, we didn't even know who was in the house, how many girls were there. We didn't know that. It was an all-girl house though. There was a male model house just down the street. So we like set our bags down, and then this other girl that was living in the house came down and she was like, you don't have to take this room. She takes every new girl to this room, but like you don't have to take this room, there's rooms upstairs. And so we went upstairs, and model apartments are just kind of like shocking because everything that could be an office, a closet, honestly, in some cases, is a bedroom. So they just fit as many girls as they can in there, and they put bunk beds in there, and you know, we're all splitting the rent, so it just saves everyone money. But it is tight living, and you better hope you get along with everybody. So we went upstairs. There was like multiple levels. It was just a staircase that kind of like went up through the house, and then the room on the rooftop was available. So there were 2 rooms up on the rooftop, and we took the one, and then this other girl was in the other one, and there was a bathroom. And I remember just thinking to myself, I'm really here, I'm here for a while, and this is a huge shock to my system. And I just, looking back on it, I'm so glad I didn't know how terrifying that would be, to be completely honest, because I don't know if I would have gone, like if I knew how hard that was going to be to adjust and get used to that. Maybe that would have like held me back from doing it. But the fact that I did go in naive and had the most positive mindset, I'm so glad I did that, because I've never, like, truly from that moment, I've never been the same person. It has totally shaped me as a person. I feel like I can do anything after that, truly. And so we settled into our room, and then we just started meeting everybody. So there was like, I want to say when we got there, there was like 9 girls, because there were multiple bedrooms on every floor that had multiple girls in them. So there was probably 9 or 10 girls when we got there, and we instantly had a group of like 5 girls. So 1 was from Canada, and the 4 of the rest of us were from the United States. But there were girls from Brazil, Holland, Tokyo, and there were multiple girls that had been there for a few nights already, so they had kind of scoped out the house and scoped out the neighborhood and been out to eat a few times. So most of us, this was our first like development trip for modeling, and a lot of us were from the US and Canada and stuff, so we were all bonding over that, and how a lot of us had been to the resorts in Cancun and Cabo, but we'd never been to Mexico City. Like, this was so different. So it was really nice to kind of feel like I wasn't alone in that situation. And then the next day we went into our agency and we got like our comp cards and did digitals and all of that. And those are the really barefaced, basic photos that your agents send out with your portfolio. So I did that. I met all of my agents, and then we kind of just like started. So they told us they would send us castings. It was our responsibility to get there to the castings and go to as many as we could, and then if we booked the job, they'd let us know and we'd go to the job, which is just how it is. And once you do the on stays, that is like the most direction a lot of times that you'll get, and then you just have to go for it and hope that you start booking jobs. And I would get a text on my phone saying like, you have a casting at this time, here's the address. And sometimes it would say the brand, sometimes it wouldn't, sometimes it would say what to wear, and sometimes it wouldn't. So I would just always lean towards typical casting attire, and then I would bring my model bag with me everywhere. So I brought a kind of like a big day bag, and then I would go to the casting. So typically we would Uber, and if some of us in the house had the same casting, we would all call the Uber together and split it. I remember I booked a photo shoot for a magazine, and I had only been there for a few days, and for the photo shoot they were going to send a driver to the house. And I just remember being really scared about that, like going alone to a shoot, and I didn't really know where it was and stuff. And I called my agent here and I was like, are you sure this is fine for me to do? You know, I'm just feeling a little anxious. She totally reassured me, and she was like, the agency wouldn't send you to a shoot that, you know, was unsafe or in a bad location, and they're not going to send you a driver that they're not comfortable with. So, and just to keep in mind, I had a very reputable agency in Mexico City. It was where all of the mainstream agencies sent their models to develop. So I was with one of the top 2 agencies in Mexico City, so I definitely felt safe and taken care of and like watched after. But I had to totally just face my fear that day. And I got up and I went to the shoot, and the whole taxi drive I was like, okay, we took a left here, and I was just like marking all the places we had passed, and I shared my location with a few people back home and my mom and stuff, just for my peace of mind. But when I got there, it was like one of the best days of my life, you know, like overcoming that fear and going into a day full of people I don't know in a place that I don't know ended up being one of the best days. And we shot all day, we did hair and makeup, we were in this studio that had like an open garage, and everything in Mexico City is so green and like lush, and it's very mountainous. It's higher elevation than Denver. I think it's like 7,000 feet. So it's just, it's a beautiful landscape, and we had a view overlooking that. And I was just shooting all day, and then I ended up in an editorial in Mexico City, which was incredible, and that was my first job. So there were so many instances during this trip where I had to overcome a fear to get over it and go and get out of my comfort zone, like almost every single day, I think. But ever since that time, I have legitimately never been the same. I've never been so confident. I've never been so, you know, like, I'm like a go-getter. Like I do the things that make me happy now because I know that I can. But that first couple weeks, I had really bad culture shock, and it was really bad. Like I've never experienced that, and I've never experienced it again. It was crazy, and I don't know, I feel like it was a full panic attack for a few days. And I still to this day feel so bad for my roommate, because I just like couldn't like uplift my mood. Like I was so stressed, I was so panicked, I was so anxious. I mean, I think part of it was all my friends were back in school, and I was like in Mexico City doing God knows what. Like I felt like I didn't know what my purpose was. And then also, like I was comparing 2 different paths in life and like convincing myself that I made the wrong decision, which isn't true. And then also just life in Mexico City is so different. And I'd never been away from my family for that long, and like being far away, which even though it was just Mexico City, it felt so far. And I felt like I was in over my head. Like these other girls in the house were so beautiful and so successful and had more time in the industry under their belt, and I was so young and naive, and like at the time I really wasn't confident in the way that I looked. I was really beating myself up over my size and stuff, which I don't do anymore, but at the time I really was, and it wasn't healthy. And I was just comparing myself to everybody. I was feeling really lost, and the whole thing about modeling is like you don't know what's gonna happen next. And so I didn't know if I had a job coming up. I felt like my world was crumbling for about a week to 10 days, and I just had to like reflect. Like I really had to sit with myself and cry and like watch a show and just let time pass and continue adjusting and like stick with it. And then ever since then, I've never had culture shock like that before, and I've been really fortunate to travel a lot since then, and it's never affected me again. So I don't know if I just needed one really extreme kick in the ass, but I got it. So now I feel like I can do anything. The one thing that was really hard to adjust to is the water in Mexico. Obviously I've been there, I've stayed at the resorts, you don't drink the water, but it's like not that hard when you're on vacation. I feel like when you live there, we would go and buy those huge jugs of water, and in the morning I would put the back of my toothbrush in my mouth, like over the sink, and dump the water on my toothbrush so that I could brush my teeth with clean water. And like, it was just little things like that that you would never think about, but I did that for like over 2 months, every single day, twice a day. It was crazy. And like, you can't open your mouth in the shower, and you can't have ice cubes, and you have to make sure if you're having pasta or rice, like that you really boil the water, and like washing your fruit and stuff. That was the biggest adjustment for me. And I ended up working a lot in Mexico City, which I'm so grateful for. I had lighter hair at the time. I've never really dyed it darker, but I just had lighter hair at the time. And I have really light eyes, and the other models in the market at that time were more dark hair and brown eyes and like darker skin tone. And so I had a really unique look for what was available in the market at that time. And I was getting booked by a lot of brands, and I was working a ton. I did jobs for MAC Cosmetics, I did jobs for Liverpool, which is like the equivalent of their Nordstrom. I walked in the Liverpool fashion show with Emily Donato and Hannah Jeter, and then the singer Omi was there, and he sang cheerleader, and we were like walking around him. I did a few campaigns, I had some editorials, and I just totally grew as a person. And I have some of my favorite people in my life that I still talk to are from Mexico City, because I think we just have such an insane bond from that, because nobody knew what that was like unless you were there. It was so intense. It was so was such a unique experience, and we just totally had to rely on each other. And I mean, at 17 I was navigating Mexico City to get to castings and jobs. I was working with people who only spoke Spanish. I was seeing the back end of marketing in a foreign country with the e-commerce marketing and the branding and the fashion shows. I was working with creatives that have traveled the world, and they have, you know, they're from Mexico City, but they've been a photographer in New York, and they've been to Milan, and they've been to, you know, London, and all of these insane stories. And that's what I love the most about modeling, is that I'm able to meet these people that have such a non-traditional career path, and have just like gone where the wind takes them and really honed in on their craft. And it's allowed them to see the most beautiful places in the world and create these insane works of art, which in my opinion, modeling and photography and videography is art. Getting booked for jobs is a huge boost of confidence, of like, oh, you know what, I am supposed to be here, and I do belong here, and I deserve to be here. And that started happening for me probably like week 3 or week 2. I really started booking jobs. I also booked a few jobs where they flew me to different areas of Mexico. So I would meet the hair and makeup team at the airport, and then we would fly to the next city. I went to Veracruz and Monterrey for shoots. When you're a model in a more prominent market, you do get perks. So Mexico City, our gym membership was either free or like highly discounted. And then I was also just in New York, and my gym membership was very discounted as well, which was super nice. But for me, the gym is where it's like therapy to me. It's where I feel the most at peace. It's how I adjust to being in a new place. It's how I calm my anxiety and all of the overthinking that happens a lot in my head. So we would go to that gym, and then we would walk around, and it was probably about a month in or 3 weeks in that I really started feeling super comfortable in Mexico City, and genuinely I felt really safe there. Like I really did. It's such a misunderstood place in my opinion. Obviously I was very careful. I wasn't out drunk by myself, you know, like I was very careful about what I did. So the goal of going to an international market for development as a model is really tear sheets is kind of like what you're going for. So that's having a spread in a magazine and going to different photo shoots, working for different brands, playing a different character at all those shoots. I was there for just over 2 months and I booked like a lot more jobs than I thought I was gonna book, which is amazing. But like I said, it was because I did have a unique look at the time when I was there. I became very close with my roommates, which was amazing. They're the ones that got me through it, and they're some of my best friends still, which is so nice. And there were girls from Paris, Brazil, the US, Canada. As someone who's from Colorado and hadn't really had the opportunity to travel internationally, I mean, I've been to like Mexico and the Bahamas for vacation, but nothing crazy. That was a crash course on international travel. Mexico City is different, you know, like it's a total culture shock. They live differently. The way the city operates is so different, and the metro, I mean, that was the first time I'd been on a subway outside of the country. That metro, when I was there in 2016, I went on it a few times, only in groups. I never would have gone on that subway alone, but it was split by men and women. So the male models had to go in a different car, and then we had to go in our own car. And I'd never seen that before in my life. And so that was just a huge shock to me. It was also so fascinating to me to have roommates from all these different countries, because I would hear about their lives back home. And we had 2 amazing girls from France, and it was International Crepe Day in February, I think, and they like fully made crepes downstairs for all of us, and like the way they would make them at home in France. And that's just an experience I never would have had if I stayed at home, you know? Like, it opened my eyes to so many things. And then even just going to the Chapultepec Castle and learning about the war and learning about all the things that happened in Mexico City, and like how the Zocalo church is over the Aztec ruins. Like, those things I never would have known before. And after that trip, I just became obsessed with traveling, and I am so excited to keep talking about that on this channel. I had the opportunity to work with amazing photographers, videographers, makeup artists, stylists, runway producers, casting directors, everything. It was so awesome, and it was the epitome of like, you don't know until you try, because I was really insecure at the time. That's just the truth. I mean, I was 17. I was also very obsessed with my weight and my size, and that in turn made me very insecure. And then to go there and be booked for things and work and have positive reinforcement and, you know, praise for the work I was doing was like so exciting and empowering. And to be able to look back and say, yeah, I got around Mexico City speaking the broken Spanish that I knew at 17, and I, you know, made really safe decisions and trusted my intuition and learned how to be alone and learned how to like being alone. And I learned so many things about other people, and I met so many incredible people. I mean, that was like the most pivotal thing that I could have done in my life, because it was that transitional period between high school and college where a lot of people just work a summer job and go to college, but that's also just most people's situation. Whereas I was living in a foreign city that most people don't even travel to, except for now it's becoming popular. But I had the opportunity to do this incredible thing that happened because of modeling, and modeling has done that for me in so many ways. I mean, I'm now signed in New York, LA, Milan, San Francisco, and Denver, which is a dream. But it has given me so many opportunities to meet amazing people and travel to really cool places and learn about different cultures and all of that. And it just emphasized to me the importance of travel and international exposure, even if you're not a model. Like, it is so important to be able to say that you've been to other places and that you've experienced other cultures. And so I feel really, really happy about that. And it was also really fascinating to see the different fashion in Mexico City. I mean, it is such a booming artistic place, There are stylists, designers, artists. It is just like, it's full of creativity. It's booming with creativity, and I didn't know that until I went there, and I don't think a lot of people know that. It's incredible. Like the restaurants there, the museums, the stores, it's insane, and it's like so signature to Mexico City. And so I felt really lucky to be able to go there. Again, like and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.